I've been sleeping on these switches for way too long. Happy late Thanksgiving, everyone! A few months ago, KNC Keys sent me some of their green jacket long pole linears to try out, and I have to admit, I didn't really think too much of them at first. Looking at my Switch review queue, I have roughly 20 long pole linear switches that I have yet to try. So when it comes to long pole linears, I try to review them in the order I've received them, unless there's something new or unique about them, like the all nylon tofu linear or the PBT bottom Joly switch. But without spoiling the review, these switches are very nice. Let's talk specs right after you take a brief moment to give thanks to that like button. The green jacket is manufactured by Tecsee for KNC keys, and it features an HDPE top, a nylon bottom, a 13.9mm long palm stem, and a 55-gram actuation, 63.5-gram bottom mount 2-stage spring. Given that the total travel on your run-of-the-mill Cherry MX Black is about 4mm, the 13.9mm long pole stem shortens the overall travel of these switches to just 3.1mm. But before we go any further, I wanted to quickly talk about what exactly makes a long pole switch. We've had some great discussions in the comments on my review of the Prevail Epsilons, but to me, a long pole linear is one that has a shortened travel than the standard 4mm. Typically, that shortened travel is caused by extending the stem pole a little bit, hence the term long pole. For that reason, I don't actually consider the Novel Keys Cream a true long pole linear when using my definition, because while the Cream has a long pole for Franken-switching purposes, the bottom housing stem receptacle, for lack of a better word, is actually longer on the Creams, which keeps the overall switch travel at roughly 4mm. It's for that same reason I stated that the Epsilons were not long pole linears in my review, because to me, the definition of a long pole linear is one with a reduced stem travel distance. Now in a literal sense, a long pole linear is one that has a longer pole stem than the standard Cherry MX stem length. But the main reason I classify long poles based on travel is because it's the reduced travel and the abrupt impact between the stem and bottom housing that creates that signature long pole clack. It's also for that reason that neither Creams nor Epsilons can be really described as clacky, no matter how far you stretch that definition. I'm interested in how you define long pole switches, so let me know in the comments below. Getting back to the green jackets, they are long pole in every sense of the word, reduced travel and extended stem length, but the HDPE top really tames the highs and causes what might just be the thockiest long pole linear I've tried yet. Here's a quick stock sound test. These switches sound really good to my ears and they offer a great stock experience. The switches do come lightly factory lubed and it really cuts down on any of those crap sounds, crunch, rattle, and ping. These switches are almost flawless stock and I noticed only a tiny bit of ticking during extended typing. When opening up the switch to check the factory lube, they weren't kidding when they said it was a light coat, and I really only noticed a small amount of oil on the leaf and stem contact point and a small amount of lube on the stem sliders. One other interesting thing to note was that the stems themselves had these yellow markings on them. It's not lube and I'm not entirely sure what it is, but it's just something to note. These switches are very smooth stock, but I would probably lube the bottom housing rails at a minimum. Take a listen to a comparison between the stock and modded switches with Krytox 205G0 and Keys films. These switches are really awesome after the mods. Take a listen to these switches in today's build, the monokei and singa neko. The board is a gasket mounted 50% with a polycarbonate plate. Switches are lubed and filmed with Keys films. Here we go. I'm really enjoying the neko, although I wish I'd gotten an aluminum plate and a solder PCB because I'm not a huge fan of the right shift layout on the hot swap PCB. Also, keycap compatibility is definitely a struggle on this board, but I'll have a few reviews coming soon, TM, so make sure you're subscribed. That being said, it's time for the good, the bad, and the ugly. First, the good. The green jackets might just be one of my new favorite long pole linears because they do everything well. They offer a great stock experience, although there is a slight issue that I need to address. The HDPE top on the green jackets is very soft, and they have a tendency to bend out, which makes it a little tricky when installing the switches onto the plate. According to the product page for the green jackets, HDPE is a reinforced umwub, but it feels and acts very similarly to the HDPE top on the Doom and Bigwig switches that I've reviewed previously. According to my sources, Tecsee apparently sent Mayroon, who manufactures the Doom and Bigwig switches for Keybfront, a cease and desist letter, claiming that HDPE was a ripoff of HPE, which Tecsee also claimed was a proprietary material. Now I'll leave the specifics to the keyboard warriors at r/hobbydrama, but HDPE is one of the most ubiquitous plastics around, and it's used in everything from milk jugs to shampoo bottles, so it's weird that Tecsee would try to claim that they own the rights to the material. I also want to note that the top housing legs on the green jackets is a little less malleable than the top housings on the HDPE switches I've tried, so it seems that Tecsee did improve the plastic formulation. I was able to easily install all the switches on my hot swap neko using the flat side of a pair of tweezers, and they only needed a slight push and check to make sure the legs were properly seated in the plate, but it's something to be mindful of if you decide to pick these up. So now we can talk about the ugly or the nice to haves. If you use code MAKER at checkout, the green jackets work out to 57 cents per switch, which are a great value compared to that artificial 65 cent per switch threshold that we've talked about before. At this price and with this quality, I'd say these are approaching must-buy territory if you're looking for your next long pole linear, except for the fact that they're currently sold out on KNC keys. The bottom line is, these switches are very, very good, and KNC Keys is an awesome vendor who works hard to keep his products in stock. So I'd keep an eye out on the store and click that notify button. Check out some more switch reviews here. I'm MakerMods, and I'll catch you in the next video.